The U.S. supply chain is at a turning point. Having long prioritized cost efficiency and lean operations, it now faces a perfect storm of disruptions. Aging infrastructure, labor shortages, climate volatility, geopolitical shocks, and escalating regulatory demands. In this video, we'll walk through the current challenges straining America's supply chains, explore the emerging risks on the horizon, and lay out strategic paths toward resilience. At the end, I'll invite you to reflect. Is your organization prepared for the next disruption? Let's begin. One of the most visible bottlenecks today is port congestion. The ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach alone handle more than 40% of U.S. container traffic, and delays have soared, with containers waiting over 9 days in peak periods. Compounding this, U.S. infrastructure has been underinvested for decades. The American Society of Civil Engineers recently gave a C grade to U.S. infrastructure overall. Tens of thousands of bridges are classified as structurally deficient, and highway conditions remain poor. This mismatch, high trade volumes moving through aging physical systems, represents a critical stress point for the supply chain. Another systemic issue is workforce scarcity. The trucking industry estimates a shortage of 80,000 drivers in 2021, projected to rise to 115,000 by 2025 and 160,000 by 2030. This is tied to an aging workforce with an average age of around 48, combined with difficult job conditions and regulatory constraints, such as under-21s being barred from interstate trucking. But the labor gap isn't limited to drivers. Warehouses, ports, and technical support functions also struggle to find trained personnel. As a result, throughput slows, costs rise, and lead times stretch. In 2025, tariff policies became a heavier drag on supply chains. A baseline 10% tariff was imposed on goods from all nations, and many items from specific countries faced additional duties of up to 50%. At one point, U.S. tariffs on goods from China peaked at 145%. For manufacturers relying on imported components, this creates ripples in cost structures and margins. Some OEMs with high dependence on Chinese supply could see margin erosion up to 5 to 7 points, or reductions on the order of 75%. These external pressures magnify any internal inefficiency. Climate disruption is no longer a future threat, it's here. The 2024 drought in the Panama Canal reduced transit capacity by nearly 32% and introduced delays of up to 21 days in critical shipments. U.S. supply chains are projected to face the largest increase in climate-induced disruptions of any nation over the next 15 years, costing carriers between $2 and $3.5 billion annually in delays, rerouting, and retention in transit. Meanwhile, the semiconductor shortage remains a structural constraint. America's share in global chip manufacturing has fallen from 40% in 1990 to around 12% in 2020. Even with the CHIPS Act, the industry expects a shortage of up to 146,000 skilled workers by 2029, including over 50,000 engineers. These twin pressures, climate volatility and tech constraints, create a compounding risk matrix. So where do we go from here? We see 3 converging strategies shaping the future of U.S. supply chains: reshoring, nearshoring, and diversification. Companies are pulling parts of production back to the U.S., reshoring, or to nearby markets, nearshoring. In 2022, U.S. jobs tied to reshoring rose to over 300,000, compared to just 11,000 in 2010. Mexico has become the leading nearshore partner, representing 15.7% of U.S. trade in 2023. China Plus One strategies are also gaining traction, spreading risk across suppliers in India, Vietnam, Mexico, and beyond. Advanced technology and automation are essential to solving these challenges. AI, IoT, blockchain, and digital twin models are being deployed to improve visibility, forecasting, and responsiveness. The global AI and supply chain market is forecast to grow at nearly 38% CAGR from 2024 to 2030. The digital twin market alone could surge from about $17.7 billion in 2024 to $259 billion by 2032. These technologies are transforming reactive supply chains into predictive, adaptive networks. And public-private partnerships and governance are also key to overcoming these challenges. In 2024, the U.S. government created the White House Council on Supply Chain Resilience to coordinate federal efforts to strengthen supply chain competitiveness. Collaboration between private industry and government is critical to boosting infrastructure, harmonizing standards, and improving crisis response capacity. Additionally, companies are embedding resilience through supplier diversification, ESG monitoring, and stronger cybersecurity, essential given that one-third of cyber attacks in supply chains stem from vulnerabilities in partner organizations. Together, these strategic pillars form the scaffolding of a more resilient U.S. supply chain. We've walked through the heavy stresses on U.S. supply chains today: aging infrastructure, workforce gaps, tariff shocks, climate events, and semiconductor constraints. We've also reviewed the adaptation playbook: reshoring, automation, diversification, public-private alignment, ESG, and cybersecurity. Now here's the question for you. Is your organization ready for the next major disruption? If not, the time to act is now. Invest in visibility, flexibility, and partnerships that strengthen resistance to the unknown. If you found this useful, subscribe to the channel and leave your comment below which challenge in your region feels most urgent. And don't forget to check the links in the description for deeper resources and templates to map resilience in your supply chain. See you in the next video.